Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast. Coming to you today from the Night Ranger again. No. I'm not Brad, that's not Josh, and together as always, we're not sane.
Okay, I just was waiting to see whether we're going back into FM radio world or...
No, we're not sane.
Yes.
But we might have some semblance of sanity because we were so practiced at appearing sane.
Yeah, I just don't know how well it's working because we're judging each other, and that's...
Yeah. So, anyways, we have, I think, some highlights. We have some new titles that come out. We have some upcoming titles that have not yet come out, and we have some news. So,
well, it's going to be a very
highlights?
Podcast. Do I have any highlights this week?
I mean, I think your hair looks about the same as it did last time, so I don't see any new highlights there.
Well, they're done in the back, and they're purple, so I'm
okay.
But no real highlights this week. I didn't have much of a chance to play. I've sort of been rearranging the apartment and trying to get my iPad set up at a place where it's functional and all that.
Yeah, who needs functional iPads?
Well, the person who doesn't want to pay a 25% restocking fee does need to have a good place to put it. So, I know they are amazing. They really are. It's just anyway. So I'm trying to make the best of a situation, and I arranged to get some plugs in place so I can actually utilize this in a place I want to.
Right.
So that was really what I was working on this week, and also trying to figure out how to set up some of my Fire devices for whole room and stereo, and you can do all sorts of different setups with. So that was what I was working on basically this week, was sort of apartment setting up. But still, it was untethered, all of it Bluetooth or voice controlled, or
right, or both.
But it had nothing to do with virtual reality. It was more augmenting my actual reality.
I see. Yeah.
Okay, so
that still counts.
Okay,
as highlights of your life.
I'm glad we could share. And for you?
Well, I did some more Skyrim this week. I got captured by Molag Bal because I'm not sure if I mentioned this already or not, but I went to Markarth, which is evidently a cesspool. It looks cool because it's a city built out of a dwarven ruin, so it's all the stone architecture and the really cool looking things, but underneath it all is full of corruption. In the words of a famous senator, there's a whole lot of corruption going on down there.
Okay, then.
And I was asked by a vigilant of Standar, which is a group of people that worship Standar, and it is their mission in Skyrim life to go around helping people by getting rid of the bad creatures, especially if it's any relation to Daedra. So there's an abandoned house in Markarth. He asked me to help him investigate it, because even though it's supposedly abandoned and nobody lives there, it seems well kept and maintained. So we go in, the door locks behind us, and we cannot open it. And he says, "Wait, there is something definitely here. It's a Daedra of some sort." And we go in and investigate a little bit, and we get downstairs, and he goes, "Oh crap! this is a bigger danger than I expected. We need to get out of here. But we can't get out of there. And then all of a sudden, objects start flying around us and whatnot. And there's a voice in my head saying, "Kill him. You are strong. He is weak." And the only way out of that quest is either to revert to a save before you took on the quest, or to go ahead and kill the vigilant, and then proceed downstairs for your reward, whereupon you get put into a cage by Molag Bal, one of the Daedric princes. And he wants you to go on a quest to lure a priest of another Daedra to his altar so that he can be killed because they have been desecrating his altar.
Uh-huh.
And you get a Daedric mace as a reward.
So have you had any highlights this week, Josh?
Well, I also stole a horse in Skyrim. It was a part of a quest. No.
I just feel bad for this other Daedric priest because I know you, and I know he's going to be gutted before you.
No. But no, that's those are kind of highlights because so number one is progressing further in the story and is highlighting how Skyrim is a multifaceted and deep game. You know, it's got a lot of depth to it, and it's very much not a for kids game.
Really?
Really?
I mean, Super Hot takes out kill yourself to prove your loyalty, but here the Daedric prince can summon you after you've murdered the vigilant and then reward you by having you kill another Daedric priest.
He captures you after you are
Right.
forced to kill the other guy, because even if you choose not to try to survive the guy, but you use calming, or he gets agitated and starts attacking you, and if you have a calming spell, he'll calm them down for a while, but then as soon as it wears off, he starts attacking you again. So it ends up with, well, I've got to do it. You know, the game so forces you into it.
No, I understand. You know, it's like that in life sometimes. You know, you try and reason with people, but it ends up you just have to kill them. And, you know, and then, of course, you get imprisoned and must complete other.
Yeah. Something like that.
I'm digging it. I got it.
But no, it's it doesn't necessarily feel good to be forced into that, obviously, but coming from a writer perspective, the guy by the name of Donald Moss, who is a big publishing agent, he's one of the biggest agents in the world, and he wrote a book called Writing the Breakout Novel, because he's helped a lot of highly successful authors to get published. And one of the things he says to do in there is find out what your main character would never, ever do. Make them do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that is something that you do find in a lot of books.
Yeah.
A lot of great books. You find the character having to, sort of like Tom Hanks having to eat the raw fish without soy sauce while he was in the middle of the ocean. You know, it's something he would just never do.
Yeah, it kind of forces the character growth, and it makes the story more interesting. And Skyrim does stuff like that.
Yes, but ultimately in Castaway it led to Wilson's death and his premature demise. So sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Was Wilson ever really alive?
Now, I guess that's something we'll never know. But it is something for a further discussion on our other channel, which is even further untethered from reality. And let's not.
So untethered, it doesn't even exist yet.
No, it's on YouTube. It's
yes. So anyways, it just that's one of the things I like about Skyrim is it's got a lot of depth and complexity to it, and it incorporates some of those good writing principles of force the main character to do something he wouldn't do and stuff like that. So it's just a good game, although not good for kids. No.
No, you've mentioned that before. Not even the Dr. Seuss mod that they're coming out with.
Who knows? There may be a Dr. Seuss mod. I don't know.
Only if Dr. Beast or Mr. Beef or whatever his name is decides to.
Dr. Beef. All right.
So I guess Skyrim was your highlight there, and I'm just wondering if your wife is going to leave you before you actually reach the end of this game, or if you participate in any way, shape, or form in reality as well.
And I'm also playing ESO on the Xbox, which takes place like 4,000 years prior to the events in Skyrim.
But you see,
but once again, has to do with dragons invading and Molag Bal.
That Molag Bal, for 4,000 years, he has been such a pain in the butt. It's just, you would think that by now he would die.
Well, he's a Daedric prince, they don't really die.
That's tough. Then defeating them is really going to be difficult.
Yep. So, moving on to new releases. Speaking of defeating things, you can defeat the Red Baron. Officially in the Oculus Quest store now.
On the World War I airplanes release. World War I planes? World War
Warplanes, World War I fighters.
Yep.
It released July 29th. That's a couple days ago.
And most of the people that we've spoken with seem to enjoy the game. So
yeah. It's a very good game from what I have heard. It had quite the journey. Started on the side quest and App Lab, and now the official Quest store.
And I think it took like 3.5 hours to go through the entire process, which is what makes the journey even that much more interesting. It really wasn't on side quest that long ago.
No.
Excuse me. So yeah,
that's. Yeah, I mean, it seems like I think it's the first game to have made it from App Lab to the official store.
Maybe
but I'm not sure.
From side quest for sure.
If it's not the first, then it's one of the first.
Right, and one of the many to come. So
hopefully, yes. So it's out. It looks fun. I have not played it yet because I've got enough to be playing and whatnot, so I can't always just check everything out. I wish I could, but I don't have the time.
I don't know what to do. I have so many games that I haven't even started, and so many that I've forgotten the controls for, and so many others I wish to participate in. That at this point, I remember at the beginning when it was like, "Oh, great, new game! Oh, great, new game!" And now it's like, "New game, new game." I mean,
new game. Who dis?
Exactly. Who dis? Arcsmith. I gotta say.
Oh, it's the next title that came out this week, so
I know.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, it just doesn't look like it does it for me. Its graphics don't really seem to be current.
It kind of looks like with the big guy in there, that the depressed former Arcsmith that you are helping undepress.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they kind of had the bartender in Galaxy's Edge in mind.
Sort of, yeah. I guess it was easy to remodel him, and yeah, I'm not feeling it Arcsmith
it,
just doesn't do
it,
it for.
it it's a lot more cartoony than Galaxy's Edge, obviously.
Right.
I don't know firsthand what the gameplay feels like, but it's a little bit weird looking because you don't have any hands. You just have two Arcsmith tools that are like a shape like this with an electricity arc running through them so that you can extend out like that and grab things and manipulate it with them and whatnot. And um, the the game describes it as you holding them, but you don't see your hands holding them. You know, you just see them. It looks like from what I've seen in gameplay videos, and it's a puzzle game where you are given something that you have to assemble, and you have to assemble it, and you have to figure out how to regulate the voltage so it's not too high, not too low, make sure it doesn't overheat, make sure it discharges excess energy, and all this kind of stuff. And it gets more complicated as it goes along. And the story is there's a war going on, and the big guy who is reluctantly training you and constantly threatening to fire you lost someone in the war because of something he made. And that's why he's done with being an Arcsmith. But training you helps rehabilitate him, and he comes to terms with it by the end of the story, I am sure.
So welcome to Willy Loman, Death of a Salesman, VR 3012.
Something like that.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not the world's most original story, no, but it does look like it could be an entertaining game. It's a puzzle game. If you like puzzle games, then of the assembling kind, this might be up your alley.
Right.
So
I think there are a few other games out there that seem to have better graphics and more of a rewarding. But then again, who am I to say? I'm sure there's at least a half a dozen people out there that'll give this a thumbs up and play it.
And moving on to one last new release, just to prove that PC VR is not dead.
Well, let's not jump.
Everslot came out on Steam. It looks like another roguelike. It's a game where you get weapon upgrades as you go along, and you are fighting zombies or other enemies, and it looks like it's got some cool weaponry in it. You can grapple, and you can grapple by shooting the enemies and then grappling toward them. Although why you can pull them towards you, I don't know, but you grapple toward them while also killing them by grappling them.
Mm-hmm. Grapple.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the makers of PC VR games. Anyway.
It looks like it's a reasonably good roguelike kind of game. So
I know there are so few roguelike type games on PC on VR right now. It's just they're needed.
Unpopular type of game. No.
Oh yeah, only 3 a week released.
Right. So, moving on to the upcoming titles then.
Okay.
We have Disc Ninja,
which actually looks kind of cool.
Yeah, this is. I love how some people are describing it as a cross between frisbee and golf. So I'm like, yeah, that's called disc golf.
Right, exactly. And they say it's disc golf. When you read, I think the very first line that it says is this is disc golf, but the settings look like the original Ninja Warrior game where they look good. Actually, the settings look really good. Think of them as holes in a golf course because you're playing.
What I would more describe it as, based on what I have seen, is not a combination of frisbee and golf, because that's the very nature of the game. That's what disc golf is, and people tend to know that. But it's mini golf and frisbee. There are obstacles and challenges, and it's more like a mini golf than a golf course golf.
Well, there can never be anything more boring than a 36-hole golf course where you take your frisbee and throw it at them with nothing there on the course to take your interest away, nothing to, just continually take your arm and just for the next 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I just hope that it works a lot better than disc golf in Rec Room works, because Rec Room disc golf, I have tried that. It is hard to throw it accurately.
Right. Oh yeah, it's all going to be physics, because otherwise the game's going to live or die on its physics. As graphically beautiful as it looks.
Yeah. It's gotta be fun to play, and if you go and it just drops at your feet, no. Or if you throw it and it continually goes at a different angle than you want, and you can't to figure it out. So hopefully it does not do that. Hopefully it works well and it flies accurately and it feels like really throwing a frisbee.
And since there is nothing else like that other than, there was a frisbee game, but that was on the go.
Yeah.
So it was a long time ago with a lot less.
And Altspace used to have a disc golf game thing in there. I don't know if it still does, but it was interesting on the VR and the Go, because you obviously couldn't actually sit throw. You had to point and click, and it just shot straight out from you.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice to see if this would actually turn into a multiplayer game. I would love to be able to do,
I think this will have multiplayer, up to 4 players, I think.
But I mean,
from what I read.
But I'm not talking co-op. I'm talking competitive.
Well, it might be, because I don't know what a co-op disc golf would be. You take turns trying to all get a cumulative score of winning.
Miniature golf.
Well, but mini golf is by nature a competitive one. Everybody in there is competing to have the best score. So
true, but they're not using their putters to beat each other over the head, which would make it even more fun.
I do sometimes in Walkabout, but it doesn't do anything.
See, there's the problem. That's what you actually have to have in real life, these sticks that will correspond to Richie's plank, and
I went to a fight and a mini golf game broke out.
Ha ha.
So later this year we have Drums Rock coming out, which is kind of like Smash Drums, but you are using the drums to fight off colored demons that are coming your way, and you have to hit the drum that corresponds with the color of the demon.
I have absolutely, other than shooting water into the mouth of a balloon that's going to pop, on a clown's head, I have nothing to say about this until I see some proof of concept.
Well, I think there's a trailer video or 2 out there, but yeah, supposedly it's coming later this year. We don't know pricing, date, anything yet, so but it's another drumming rhythm game that will be coming out. So
Okay, so that's fine. We can always use another drumming rhythm game.
yeah.
More than another roguelite.
Speaking of roguelike games, Gargantua is having Tesseract Abyss 2 come out next week.
Oh, and
New weapons, new enemies, and a new boss.
Yep, that's what I'm looking forward to. The new boss, not the same as the old boss.
Not Michael Scott, but a different boss.
A different boss. No, it looks cool. It looks like they're really, really trying to turn this into what it should have been the day it was released. But they've been working at it continuously.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at one point we'll all get back in and see if it works. It was fun. It always was a fun game. It just was always a little
It was always fun until someone broke a finger.
Which was always me.
True.
Still don't understand how. Same finger every time. Actually reset it during gameplay.
That's dedication.
I agree. It hurt for months afterwards, but I managed to finish the game.
Also coming out next week is Stride. They said it is going to be coming out on August 5th. So we shall see if it comes out then or if they need to delay. But it has been coming to Oculus Quest for a little bit, and now we have a date.
Yeah, it's been coming now since before the Go, and
it's making great strides in coming to the Quest.
Well, you know, you can't parkour anywhere. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure I'll hear about it from Mikey, who'll finish it before it's finished downloading on my headset. And
probably, sounds about right.
I know. And then we'll get some sort of.
He likes to speedrun things instead of taking his time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, granted, Stride, you don't want to take your time because then you lose. But
Yeah, it's really not designed. Just the entire name of the game should let you realize this is not a game where you're going to look around as you're.
Yeah, which is why it doesn't have the world's most spiffy graphics. I mean, the graphics are nice, so don't get me wrong. But they're not like high quality designed to make you go, ooh.
No,
if you do that, you're gonna die.
But they are enough to get you motion sick if you.
Well, take a Dramamine first.
Because that's the reason for gaming, is the extra high you get from the Dramamine before you get to.
So, speaking of Dramamine and keeping yourself not feeling motion sick, Oculus Move may soon be communicating with Apple Health. And then your Oculus Move data can be stored and tracked by Apple Health, counting towards your fitness and your health goals.
Sure. Okay, here's my problem. Okay, just follow me here.
You have a lot of problems.
Well, I do. I won't get into the personal ones. I'm just going to point something out here, which is the reason that most people dislike Facebook is Facebook likes to gather every bit of data that they can about you and utilize it. Now, Move is going to, by its very nature, gather data about you that is going to really be valuable to a company like Facebook, who is then going to have that incorporated into Apple, whose very existence is now dedicated to not sharing your data with Apple. Even when you connect to the internet, Apple doesn't know who you are looking at and they don't know who you are coming through. However, they're going to team up with Facebook to record your health data
I know yeah.
No, I can't.
The philosophies are kind of at odds with each other. Yeah, I know.
There's just no way. I mean, you can sit me down and try and describe Bitcoin to me, and it's going to come through easier than this. So, I mean, seriously, how? How do you take a company whose only existence is based on collecting your data and having it tie their program into a company whose existence is tied solely to not letting anybody see your data, including them?
Well, it'll be interesting. But regardless, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they are going to make it available to Apple Health. It's just, yeah, there is kind of a, so it's tracked on one end and it ends up not tracked on the other end, but it, it is what it is, and I would imagine that they would also be working on to getting it to communicate with Google Fit at some point as well.
I really
So,
look. Google Hub decided that the best way for them not to be able to see you is not to put a camera in their device. Amazon decided
well,
the best way.
that's taking it literally, but yes.
Amazon decided the best way was to let you just slide a little plastic switch over the camera, and you could
Right.
use it if you wished and not use it if you wish. I like their approach better. So
Yeah.
I'm just really this whole interchange of data between all of these companies while we're having this huge discussion about data collection
Right.
and usage.
I know, but at the same time, they can't really just sit and wait until the courts to decide or whatever, because then someone else will come along and you know, so they've got to keep moving, and then if they have to backtrack, then they backtrack. Not necessarily the most ideal way of doing it, but I can understand. They don't want to. They're not going to sit around going, "What would the courts let us do?" Yeah. So
I know. It's just that really the absolute basic difference between Apple's philosophy as to how to deal with customers and
yeah,
Facebook's
I
are
know. I know.
as diametrically opposed as anything in the universe. So for it to be incorporated somehow and not violate either one's
Well,
ethos.
speaking of things connecting to other things, Gabe Newell has kind of indirectly stated that the Steam Deck will be able to connect to your Quest.
Not indirectly, dude.
Well, he didn't outright say it will be able to. He said, if you want to be connected to this, to that, to your Quest, no. So it wasn't you know, yes, it is Quest compatible. Go ahead, but
well, he didn't put the
yeah,
exclamation
it will be
mark
able to
after.
connect to the Quest. It still doesn't mean that it's going to be optimal for VR.
Well, the thing is that there were people right away saying that it wasn't capable of playing several of the Steam games to begin with, and they came out and said, we can't find a single game that this doesn't play.
Right.
And
So,
I'm thinking, I don't know who to believe because it doesn't exist yet. Right now, it
right.
is as virtual
Well,
as
the only ones who would know anything are the ones that are making it and testing it, and they're the ones saying we haven't found a game that they can't play yet. But note that they didn't say how well it played the game.
right. They didn't say on high quality or at super
Yeah,
sampling or anything
it
that
plays Half-Life Alyx at 2 frames a second.
right. It's technically playing the game. You might never want to pick it up, but technically,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I
But no, My guess is it might end up being okay for low end or not extremely taxing PC VR games. But the higher end ones with the ultra quality level graphics that might not do so well if you want to do that in the VR with it. But I believe technically the specs on it are better than the the specs on the Quest. As far as the CPU and the GPU and all that stuff, it got more performance than the Quest. So if you set it up right, maybe it could work well enough as a low end portable PC VR device. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Oh, I'm sorry. As we were speaking, I just got a message with Haskell reminding people that there's some NDA that's still somebody's obviously showing something they shouldn't be showing right
Awesome.
I can't believe it. It's crazy.
So
yeah, it just came through on the Discord. So I don't know who's doing what, but
I don't know. I don't know. Whatever NDA it is, I'm not involved with it. So no,
I'm just it's crazy.
I don't see the notifications on my computer. So
no, I got you. It's just that it came through like in all caps. Like obviously somebody was streaming something right now that it was just like, shut it down, buddy.
Yeah. So speaking of shutting things down, Oculus has decided to officially shut down the facial interface and recall the facial interface due to facial irritation. And they are issuing silicone alternatives. And I believe they stated that they've had 4 million of those shipped in the U.S. alone so far. Probably more by now because that's a couple days old or whatever.
Right, and it's 4 to 6 weeks for them to actually ship them because God knows how long it takes to make them because only every other company on the planet has been making them for a year. I guess they wanted to make sure that these would break with usage and fit with the Elite strap. Okay, it's something. The funny thing is that most of these complaints came from Europe, and I have no idea if they're doing anything about it in Europe, which is where the
and I got a free silicone cover from Supernatural. I don't use it. It's slippery and cold and not very comfortable.
You'll notice that when you go to buy a cover for your headset, which is necessary, I mean, let's face it. VR cover, we don't make a dime, is probably the most comfortable, best fitting.
I mean, they've been around since Gear VR days, making stuff to make it more comfortable.
Right, and originally their stuff was being sold on the Oculus website as the replacement the second time around.
And,
so,
like originally, you said their stuff just went over the built-in stuff, and then they and Oculus worked it out or whatever so that they could print up a facial interface attachment thing as well, so that they could just make their own facial interface replacement,
which was even better because it also has a heat sink built into it to So
So I mean they know what they are doing and they know how to make comfortable covers. And I'm going to say that it's people trying to extrapolate how many Quest sales there have been based on this number. The 4 million in the U.S. shipped for the facial interfaces. That's going to be a low number there because
That's the minimum.
I'm not ordering
Right.
a replacement, a silicone replacement because I don't want a silicone replacement, and I have the VR cover. It works great.
Right. But I think the part that we were talking about earlier isn't even so much the silicone cover, which it's, sort of closing the barn door after the horses escaped.
Right.
It does indicate how many units were sold, which
well, yeah,
is tremendous.
It gives an idea, and even if you go only by this low estimate, so based on this, that's a lot of units, and is pretty dang close to the PlayStation 5.
Oh,
sales.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're not, but, considering VR is dead, that's pretty good for sales.
On the other hand, if you look at the speed, this is, how old is the Oculus Quest 2 now?
Almost a year.
Yep, almost a year. PlayStation 5, what, a couple months?
No, PlayStation 5 is now almost 5 months now. We're going back.
Yeah, so like about
They've
about
even
half a year.
redesigned it.
Right.
They've redesigned it since the original release. Okay,
Right.
so that's how much changes it's gone through. Whereas our sets have gone through redesign, but through software, and they are completely different than what we purchased.
Right. Right. So while the total number is close to the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 did get there just a little bit faster.
Well, at least the PlayStation 5 design number 1.
Right.
Now, remember, we're at PlayStation 5 design number 2. There has been no redesign. Oh, wait. There's been a redesign of the Quest lower-end model, which is still coming with the crappy interface, but an extra 64 gigs of RAM.
Yes. That was going to be the next bit of news, that on August 24th, there will be a 128 gigabyte version of the Oculus Quest 2 for sale.
Correct. And I believe
it's the exact same as the Oculus Quest 2, 64 and 256 gigabytes. It's just in between the storage size. I think because the Facebook realized 64 gigabytes is really not enough for people.
I don't think it's because they realize 64. I think it's because anybody that's bought more than like a dozen decent-sized games must be having a heck of a time doing reinstalls and upgrades, system version upgrades, and there must be crashing all over the place when they're running at that low a RAM rate, at that. So yeah, they had to put in the 128. There was no way not to.
Yeah.
So all they did was screw everybody that was the original purchaser of the 64, and now they're rewarding the people that waited with the 128. Yeah. Way to go, Oculus.
Yeah. Well, that's one way of looking at it, I suppose.
If you bought the 64, it would be hard to look at it any other way, especially if you bought it 2 weeks ago.
Except it would only be screwing them over if they had planned it this way from the beginning, really. So this way is like, oh, we realized that we should have done this. And, I would agree that it might be a good idea to say, hey, if you're a 64 gigabyte user, you can trade in, and we'll knock half the price off or whatever.
Something, right? Along with the free silicone cover in the box.
Silicone would not be comfortable at all because that's rock.
I happen to like heavy metal, but anyway, silicone. It is very I don't like silicone at all. I don't understand why anybody came out with a silicone.
I don't know.
Other than that,
I mean, it works well for cooking utensils that you want things to not stick to.
True. I've never cooked my face before, so I never had the occasion to use one in that respect.
You should try it.
No, you should try it. I've seen Deadpool. I don't like the result. Um, I do have these silicone gloves though for taking.
Oh, okay, cool. So, moving on, because this has been a big topic of discussion for a lot of people lately.
Don't do it. Don't even say it.
PCVR is dead. No. No.
I thought you were going to.
Well, I mean, that is a topic of discussion that came up recently. And we can touch on that briefly. I think, no. PCVR hardware might be dead or dying, you know. I mean, just look at the Oculus Rift, you know.
Well,
but PCVR itself is not dead. It's just more and more being accessed through mobile VR, streaming, or with link cable.
it really depends on how you're going to classify your PCVR. Are you classifying it because you're using the increased graphic power of a processor, or are you using it because you like the idea of outside light boxes that are tracking you? So those are the two main things that I think come into the use of PCVR.
Right. Well, so that's why I was saying PCVR hardware might be dying, as in the VR headsets and systems that are specifically designed for PCVR as opposed to standalone and PCVR. The argument could be made for that is dying. I mean, just look at the Rift. You know, it's been discontinued.
Yeah, I know.
You know, but then you have HTC Vive, and they're still going strong on it. But that's all enterprise, even though they keep acting like they are marketing to consumers, which is weird.
Yeah. Viveport is in no way, shape, or form enterprise related, so I have no idea why they insist that they are not a gaming platform. Just
well, no, Vive. I'm talking about the hardware. Every time they post on their Twitter and other social media stuff, it aimed at consumers and it's building up hype in the consumers, and then it says for business,
which nobody buys for business. So, I mean, no, I'm not saying nobody. I think there's half a dozen people, but yeah, the rest of the actual people who are going to buy it are consumers who want to use it for their own personal usage. And, you know, it's truly, really, with everything that they've done with extending open space and with being able to incorporate real life into, you know, your virtual settings, and you know, everything makes sense with what they're doing. It's just who's going to really jump on it and integrate it into what we are going to discuss, which is, I'm afraid, that dreaded word starting with an M and has nothing to do with the
meatballs.
It's all covered with cheese. No, I thought you were going to talk about the metaverse. Oh, I was there. You do. The metaverse exists in Ready Player One. Okay. If you want that, go see Ready Player One.
Well,
if you want
there are different versions of the metaverse too, you know. But I figured I'd throw in a discussion section here because it's still coming up all over the socials. People discussing what Facebook wants to do with the metaverse, what their version of the metaverse looks like. HTC Vive kind of has the metaverse going with their interconnected Vive suite stuff. But it's not really a metaverse because it's linked to their stuff, and you know.
No, that's an ecosystem.
I mean, all those are valid questions, and as I mentioned before the show, why is it that a month ago, people had no problem with the term metaverse, but now all of a sudden, metaverse, what a stupid term. Why is Facebook using it?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I agree. I agree. Haters are just haters. But honestly, when you have something like Horizons, don't even dare call yourself a metaverse.
Right.
Please.
Horizon is, if it ever gets finished, it could be a part of the metaverse if it is done right.
Right. However,
But
it's sitting
not
there.
yet.
It's not even walking. It's still on oxygen at this point. It was a victim of COVID. So I don't know really what's happening. I've been there a couple of times. It's really not moving
Yeah.
at any sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's got potential, but there's nothing there that really draws you back in.
Nothing.
You know,
Repulses you, yes. Draws you back in, no. Sorry, I'm just,
but
I've been
I
told
mean,
once.
in my opinion, there are two things that are the closest thing to the metaverse right now. That's Rec Room and VR chat. Those are the two things closest to the metaverse. I know a lot of people are talking about Neos VR right now as well, how they're better than VR chat. It is in some ways. It's also a lot less user friendly,
Right.
and it's more complicated. And when I tried to run it, it didn't run as well on my system as VR chat does. And it hasn't taken off yet, anywhere near to the point that the VR chat has. So right now, Rec Room and VR chat, in my opinion, are the closest things to the metaverse. Um, the only issue is, though they're both still relatively closed ecosystems.
No, that's
You,
just it. It's the
you
only.
can't jump from one to the other. Go, no, I'm going to teleport to the Rec Room world. I'm going to teleport to the VR chat world. I'm going to teleport to the Neos. I'm going to teleport to Facebook land. I'm going to teleport to Sony land. I'm going to,
Right. They're
you
all
can't do that yet.
exactly. Well, because this all needs to be connected right now. The only thing that comes close is XR, which is why we keep talking about XR and a generic headset. That is the only way to establish anything resembling what any of us could not laughably call a metaverse. Because otherwise,
You don't necessarily need that generic headset in my opinion, although that would help. Oculus is going OpenXR. Vive already supports OpenXR. Steam does. So OpenXR,
it's built
if
into
it is
Microsoft.
developed and it grows enough, that could be the basis of a functional metaverse, even without dedicated generic hardware. The generic hardware would be nice, so that people have the option of, saying, I don't trust Facebook with my data. I want to go with the generic, or I don't want to do Steam because it's too expensive. I'll go with the generic, or well, Vive. I mean, not Steam. And you look frozen for me, so that is not good. Oh, hey, we're back.
Yeah, where'd you go?
So welcome back. We had an interruption where Brad lost touch with reality completely for a second, and his computer followed him into losing touch with reality. So,
But I did make a recording while traveling to the metaverse, and if I can pull it back up, we'll be able to show it on next week's episode.
yes. So, anyways, as we were saying, I feel that while it'd be nice to have a generic XR headset, that's not the critical component to having an OpenXR based metaverse. We need to get OpenXR itself up and running and growing, and that'll do a lot of it right there. It'd be nice to have a generic headset so capable of just connecting to whatever system. But if
it's going to
the
be
most important idea, excuse me, that the most important idea, in my opinion, of the metaverse is the interconnectedness of everything. There are separate areas that are proprietary areas, but you have persistence of identity, persistence of avatar, and you can freely move between areas unless it's an area you don't have access to, obviously. Yeah.
Right. Well, the metaverse.
But everything is interconnected. You can move from Sony Land to Disneyland to MGA Land to
But you have to be able to function.
Land to Chase Morgan Land.
No, I understand. But your controllers have to be able to function within each of those lands, which was my whole point, is that binding keys sometimes is difficult as it is now. So it would have to be something that XR could handle.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole that's part of the idea behind the OpenXR standard is it handles on a hardware abstraction layer level, basically.
Right.
This controller gets these inputs. This controller gets these inputs. The commands, and the programmers just have to say primary button, secondary button, sort of thing. They don't have to say Oculus X button. Steam
No, I understand. I know. We don't have, No, I understand. I'm just saying it has to be a layer that's, works throughout the entire metaverse. Otherwise, it's, restricted. And we want an unrestricted metaverse.
Yeah. And that's, in my opinion, that's more on a software level than on a hardware level. It'd be nice. I mean, obviously, an OpenXR headset would be ideal for interfacing with the OpenXR based stuff, but the idea is to have any headset, any controller be able to start to interface with OpenXR stuff and have it just work. And the developers, in theory, only have to design once instead of design multiple versions of the game. And the OpenXR interface configures it for these specific hardware. How well that's going to work? Probably not terribly well in the short term, and then it'll get better and better as it goes on.
Right, that's what I'm seeing is, that'll be the initial obstruction, is going to be the friction between trying to get everything to work with everything.
Right.
Because right now, sometimes you can't get your controller to work with your headset from the same manufacturer. So
True. But yeah, and that's why
index.
And that's also why I think, even though a lot of people are not happy with the current Oculus PC Home, that's kind of still a little bit of so people are not happy with that, but still they want that for the Quest. People want an actual home environment in there, as opposed to just a static image you're looking at, because that's also part of it. Is, can someone using Steam come and visit me in my Oculus home? If and when that happens, I think we're almost at Metaverse level.
But we were there in the go. You could go to each other's rooms and hang out.
There couldn't be a Steam user and visit an Oculus home.
Right, but within the ecosystem,
at some point, that's going to have to be able to happen, is be able to to visit my home even though you're on a different manufacturer headset.
Right. And it's all going to come down to the basic idea of a hub and who's going to control that hub, because that hub will eventually be the gate at Disney World where you could take the boat or the monorail or the...
I kind of hope that is managed a little bit better than the W3 consortium stuff for the World Wide Web, because that has had some interesting changes in recent times due to politics that have somewhat compromised the independence of it a little bit.
Oh, please, and let's not even get into all of the hacking that's been going on. I mean, cybersecurity at this point is just like,
yeah,
it's an oxymoron.
A major such concern, though, is you're going to want that independence of the Metaverse hub.
Right.
It needs to be independent from the various companies that and whatnot, much like the World Wide Web is supposed to be.
Exactly. I was going to say good luck with that, but we'll see where it goes, But yeah, we all want to.
Of course, you have to have Will Wheaton as the president of the Metaverse. I mean, that's Ready Player One staple right there, right?
It wasn't going to happen without that, And we have to, of course, then we have to mummify Sir Jean-Luc Picard and.
Yeah, let's get started right now.
Exactly. I'm getting ready. I'm inviting LeVar Burton, telling him cancel Jeopardy. Let's just get on with it here, But
so, anyways, that brings us to the end of our show. We were literally that close to the end of our show when you had the 1 second blackout.
Of course. But, at least we got to see just how stable our infrastructure is while we conduct this building of the metaverse. So,
yeah.
There was a partial obstacle that we might want to consider that must be overcome, like actual functioning bandwidth. So
yeah. So I mean, that's going to be the bottleneck of it all. So, anyways, on that note,
subscribe.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe, use your friends' head to have them like and subscribe. Also, and we're gonna go, on the right buttons. And remember, stay untethered, because being tethered just trips you up.
Well, sometimes, Yeah. Bye.